Say we're back. Say stop. Say we're back.
Got this road to myself today. Besides that truck up there. This truck just passed. It was like the only car I've seen since I've been on this road. Man. So where am I today? So I was gonna go up in the woods and do some hammock camping. But it's supposed to be storming in all of those places this weekend. So I'm in the desert again, and it's going to be like, I mean, it's probably 85 or 90 right now. And I hate when it gets hot. But I've just been kind of stopping and looking down all these dirt roads to see what's down them. Yeah, so I don't know. It might be a warm night. I don't really care. It's whatever. I'm just happy to be outside. But yeah, so I'm out near the Harquahala Mountain, which I wish I had information on, but I didn't do a whole lot of homework. But there's an observatory up top, and there's a trail that goes to the top, and it's supposed to be a pretty cool place. I don't know if I'm going to ride up it, though. Oh, this is sandy. I don't know if I'm going to ride up it, because I don't know about going up steep stuff with a bunch of weight on my bike. I don't know if I don't want to get in a situation where I have to pick this thing up, and I was actually going to come out to this mountain one time and ride it with a subscriber, actually, but his bike ended up breaking down, and we never ended up doing it. And so I came out here today thinking I would do it, and then I saw it, and I was like, I don't know if today is the day. Because there's all these other trails that go out into this land, and I think I'm just going to explore some of these. But I saw one on a map before I left here that I marked. This one I didn't mark, I just saw it on my ride. Ooh, there's a big cow over there looking right at me. I don't know if you can see that cow. Anyway, so I'm going to go to the one that I marked, because that's where I told my wife I'd be. And if that one doesn't work out, we'll go check out some of these other ones. That was it. That was my turn. See, what I do is I find these spots on Google Maps. I look at the trails on satellite view, and then I go to street view and I take a look at how the condition of the trail looks and see if there's any fencing or signage, and this is one of them. That's how I knew where I was turning. Alright. I'm going to grab something to drink real quick, and then we will get on our way. Okay, are we ready? Well, I got some stuff to talk about, and so I don't know if we're even going to get to my topic that I actually have for today. So to start off with, the Pay Bills and Die shirt, those have been restocked, lots of sizes. So if you couldn't find your size before, take a look. It's probably there. Appreciate everyone who's bought those. I think it's a cool design. I'm glad you like it too. Also, when you're checking out on eBay, if you're buying multiple items, there is a shopping cart tool that you can use, and that way you can avoid accidentally paying for shipping twice. Because I've had a couple of people who have bought two shirts separately, and I've had to refund them the shipping for one of them just because I think they didn't realize they could use the shopping cart tool. Where does this trail go? Whew. So anyway, yeah. Also, I'm working on the DR650 fuel mixture screw. Expect to have that done by the end of July. So if you guys are interested in that, it should be available. Also, eBay has informed me that the XR650L fuel mixture screws are eligible for international shipping. So if you don't live in the United States, you can now buy one of those. However, I don't know what it's going to cost you. I only know that it'll cost you about $7.50 US, to get it to the U.S. shipping center, and then I believe they take care of it beyond that. But I'm pretty excited about that because before I just never offered it because the international shipping was outrageous. It cost as much to ship the part as it did to buy the part, and I feel like that wasn't fair, so I just never even offered it. So yeah, I don't know, if you're in Australia and you want one of these for your XR650L, then you can grab one. I don't know if it fits any other Honda XR model bikes. I've never test fitted it, so if you have an XR600 or something, or an XR250L, I couldn't tell you if it's going to work. The part numbers are not the same, and that's mainly what I go off of when determining whether or not it'll work. So I'm pretty sure it'll work in the 650 Dominator because they have the same engine. But of course I never offered it for that bike because there's very few of those in this country. So with that stuff out of the way, there's a topic I'm like scared to talk about. But I've been thinking about it for years, and I'm finally making it happen, and that is a Patreon. I haven't ever done it before because I felt like I didn't have enough to offer fans in return for their money, and I didn't want to be a douche and just start asking for pledges because I didn't think that was fair to anybody. Hold on, this looks gnarly. But I have a Patreon account because I pledged to Everride for his cinematic videos, and so I get emails from Patreon, and they sent me an email last week saying that they were going to raise the fees unless I launched my page. So I thought, well, I have some merch items now, and I think I have some incentives for people, so I guess now is the time to do this. So over the weekend I set that up, and yeah, I hope people find it something that they're interested in. So if you don't know what Patreon is, it is a website developed for content creators to receive pledges, which is essentially like donations by fans in exchange for perks. And so Patreon is kind of like its own little website forum, and so you guys I can post on there, and patrons can see the posts, and we can talk in our own sort of private club. And so the way it works is Patreon allows people to set up tiers, which are like different pledge levels, and then the creator, which is me, can set those prices and set what those rewards are, and then you can decide which one you want based on the rewards. So the first tier is going to cost you $2.50 per camping video. And the perks of that are you get behind the scenes posts. I'll post about my pre-trip rituals. I'll post about packing my stuff. I'll tell you about my editing process. There's a lot that I could probably go over that I've never decided to actually put on the main channel. And so I'm hoping I can kind of start doing that stuff for patrons if they're interested in it. And other than that, you have priority access to chat with me. So if you want to ask me about my bike or my equipment, or you want to ask about camping advice and all that stuff, I will set aside time to get on there and talk to you guys about it and really go into detail with my thoughts. So that's tier 1. Ooh, this is loose as shit. So that's tier 1. Tier 2 is $10, and that'll get you the same perks as the first tier, except now whenever new stickers come out, I will mail you them automatically, and you will just get them in the mail. Sorry, I gotta concentrate. I don't know how far in here I want to go. So tier 3 is $15 per camping video, and that gets you access to all the same stuff, including the stickers, except now, after you've pledged for 2 months, you get access to 1 free merch item of any value, including fuel mixture screws, for free. And you'll be eligible for 1 free merch item every 12 months going forward. That would reset in the calendar year, so like every January, you could grab yourself a t-shirt or a hoodie or whatever it is that I'm making free of charge, because you are a patron contributor And you would be eligible for that after your second paid post, because that kind of thwarts people spamming me. Because otherwise you could become a patron, grab your merch, and leave. And I'm not going to allow that. But if you choose to support me, you definitely deserve some cool perks, and I think those are pretty good ones. So, with that all out of the way, why am I doing it? I think that's something that people are going to want to know. It's like, why do I think I deserve this? And what am I going to do moving forward if I start getting patrons? The truth is, I'm getting bored. I like camping and I like making these videos, but I've been using the same gear for 3 years. If you watched the last video I uploaded, I think I went over this, but I bought the tent and the sleeping bag with credit card points. I've never replaced them. These riding pants that I'm wearing, I bought with money I made from a stock sale. All of the equipment on the motorcycle came on the motorcycle pretty much, except for like the rack and I think the luggage bags. But for the most part, sorry, there's sand and stuff that just catches me off guard. For the most part, I've just scraped together money to buy equipment for this thing, and I feel like if I'm going to do a camping video every single month, I should start switching my gear up. And I was like, if I was getting patron support, I could buy new tents, hammocks, sleeping bags, cooking gear, motorcycle gear, anything, and I could talk about it, I could go over it, I could show it on camera, we could review it, and then the goal would be to give that stuff away to patrons. So the last perk for becoming a patron is going to be, you're going to get access to giveaways. If I get enough patrons to start buying gear and start really doing this, I'm going to buy tents, I'm going to buy sleeping bags, I'll buy cots, I'll buy hammocks, you name it, I could pretty much probably get it, and then I can give it away to you guys. So currently, I just want you to know that's going to be coming, because that's the goal for the Patreon. I want it to directly support the creation of content on this channel, and I want that to also directly cycle back to the viewers who are contributing as a reward system. And I think all of us are going to have a good time if we kick this off. So even if you're not interested in Patreon, please go check out my page and read about it and think about it, because you could get some free stuff. And patrons of any tier are going to be eligible for the giveaway, although the higher tiers are going to receive more entries. Specifically what those numbers are, I don't know yet. So there you have it. And thank you very much for listening to this. Hopefully you didn't speed past it. Oh, God, I'm glad I have a skid plate. I don't know where this road goes, and I don't even know how long I've been on it, because I've just been rambling. I think I'm probably about 6 miles into this road. Jesus. There's also cows out here, so there's a real chance a cow could come hang out with me later. I also feel like I'm out here at the wrong time or something, because it's like almost 2 o'clock, and normally it's not this hot. But I guess now I'm realizing that's why I never camp in the summer here. Ever. Because it's way too hot. So what else is new with me? Well, in September, I am planning on going to Moab, Utah, to ride with Dakota from the Dual ADV channel and Wes from the T-Dubs Kid channel. Currently, there's plans to meet up there and do some videos, and so as long as that doesn't change, I think that should be pretty cool. I don't know how we're going to do it. I've never filmed with anybody else before. You're going to see a bunch of idiot vloggers filming as a group for the first time ever, but hopefully it turns out well. I'm just excited to ride with those guys and finally meet them and do some camping. And I was talking to Dakota about flying to him and riding with him, because he's got an extra motorcycle right now and he's got a bunch of extra camping gear. So like I could legitimately just fly up there and see him, and we just go. I wouldn't have to bring much of anything. So that might happen once I decide to take some time off and pay for it. That's another thing. I'm not really going to have any paid time off because at the end of June and beginning of July, I'm going to take off and go to Europe for 2 weeks with my wife and do this trip that we've been wanting to do. It's going to eat up my time off from work. So it's not really going to, it's going to be difficult to get out and do anything other than ride around here, which is what I've been doing forever. And I've been saying forever that I want to like branch out and go on a trip and go somewhere cool, but it's never happened because I gotta pay for it. I don't know where to go. I want to just come around a corner and see the perfect campsite, and I don't think we're gonna see it. This looks like a road, more or less. So let's go down here, I guess. Yeah, I don't know if you watch Dual ADV or T-Dub's Kid, but you should because they're like the only other two vloggers that are doing any camping content, at least kind of in the same format as this. Where the hell does that go? I don't want to do that. I don't want to go down there. I just want to find my home sweet home. And none of this looks attractive. Well, this is a nice spot right here. I may actually have to look out for snakes because this is Arizona's summertime. Well, I don't think I'm going to make this my home sweet home tonight because I don't like it. It's basically it. It's probably a good spot if you're looking to camp, but I want to camp in a spot that's a little more interesting than this. Up there I saw some spots where there was like grass, and I think maybe I'll try to just camp near the grass. So I'm looking for a nice level spot that might be out of sight from the road. I think this is it. This is where I'm going to put my tent. It's going to be some work to get these rocks off the ground though. This is going to be one of the stranger places I've camped. Because normally I come across these like actual dispersed sites. I haven't seen any out here, which is fine. I knew there weren't going to be any because I didn't see any on a map. This looks almost like a road right here. Look at how the ground is like dug out. Huh. Well, I have more clothes on than I should because I'm wearing pants under these pants. So I'm going to have to sort this out real quick. So the ground out here is completely covered in these little red sticker things. And I'm gonna have to make sure those get cleared out. It's gonna be an interesting little project. But before I unpack anything, I want to make sure I can clear this area in a way that's actually suitable for putting a tent down. Because I'd hate to like move all these rocks and find out there's even little cactuses growing here. Because that's what it looks like. There's a bunch of little cactuses growing here. This might be an extra long video because I don't know how much of this I'm going to show. Before I jump into the montage of me setting up this tent, I want to kind of show you how I pack my food, because I realize I never go over that because my food is in the top of the bag here. I freeze the steak like for maybe 3 hours. I put it in the freezer before I leave so it's starting to stiffen up, but not so that it's totally frozen, because I want to kind of let it thaw as I ride. And as red meat goes, it doesn't necessarily spoil that quickly. So as long as I'm eating it the same night, I think I'm fine. But that's the reason I've never brought chicken or anything like that, because I don't want to have to pack a cooler. I haven't figured that out yet. But it's right here. I put everything in the bag that I bought it in. So in here I've got a not so cold steak. It's not warm, but it's not frozen anymore. And I've got some green beans, mushrooms, and a shallot that I'm going to make for dinner tonight. But I put it all in this little bag with the steak partially frozen. Stick it in here, roll it up, and I'm good. If you had some kind of like a cooler thing to put this in, it'd probably be better if you're on a long trip. I wouldn't, if I was going on a multiple day trip, I would never store food like this. I just want to make that clear. But because I'm only going on these overnight things, it's easy, and like, why overthink it? Like, just throw it in the bag in a place where it's easy to get to, in a way where it's not going to leak, and you're probably fine. So that's that. Now for the montage. Whew. So I don't want to complain too much about the heat, but there's a reason why I don't normally camp in the desert in this time of year. It's currently May 11th, and it is it's just toasty. It's not even that the air temperature is hot, it's that that thing is so bright and so hot. It just gets on you and it gets under your skin. It's the craziest thing. But where are my gloves? Probably in here? Nope. Gloves? Gloves. Anyway, it's like 3 o'clock, so hopefully like in an hour this isn't quite so bad. I'm probably pushing it with this steak, to be honest. I wish that steak was able to be a little cooler than like 85 degrees, because it's currently fully thawed. But all right, so let's build us a fire pit. Alright, so there's the fire pit. Now I just need some wood, which it appears that I'm surrounded by plenty of. I just don't want to grab anything with thorns on it. Those plants are great because the lower branches just die and fall off, and so you can go over there and just grab as many handfuls as you think you need. Well, I'm not going to shoot today. I didn't really bring any extra ammunition, so it's 3:11 right now, and I really just kind of want to lay down and let this breeze cool me off and try to get out of that sun a little bit. So I'm going to read some more of this Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which, by the way, I've been struggling to get through. It's I don't read a lot of philosophy books, but I'll get into that later. Well, the time has come. Time to cook some food. Time to light this fire. So this book has been getting a lot better. The philosophy stuff is hard to get through because he's trying to explain figurative concepts that are difficult to wrap your head around if you're not used to thinking about that kind of stuff, which I'm not. But in part 2 of the book, it's gotten more interesting. It definitely, if you're having trouble enjoying it, just try to continue reading it until you get a little further in. And then, I guess, make a judgment then. But I'm enjoying it. And as I was gathering this wood, and I was breaking up these little pieces earlier, I started thinking about what I think about when I break wood down. Like, as I'm doing it, I'm always kind of thinking about, like, the size it is, why I need that size, and how I'm going to start piling this together, and basically how I like to build fires. Like, if you watch this, I basically just lit this with one match. I put another one over here, but that area didn't light. But that first match actually started this whole pile. Now this wind is going to blow it out if I don't start adding stuff. I started thinking about a specific time in my life where I don't know if I'd call it an epiphany, but I realized how to build a fire. And it sort of relates back to something that's going on in that book, so an idea that he's trying to discuss, which I'll attempt to share with you, even though I probably don't fully understand it. But he's talking about romantic understandings of reality versus like classical understandings of reality, and what he means by that is a romantic understanding of a motorcycle would be its outer form, so the way it looks and the fact that it's made up of metal parts and plastic parts, and if you hit switches it starts, and that kind of stuff. But the classical understanding of a motorcycle would be its underlying form and what is actually going on when you push buttons and when you turn the throttle and when you press the brakes and all of that. The reason I'll say this relates to that is because I learned how to build a fire in Boy Scouts, and I never could do it. I don't think I ever once actually properly or even effectively built a campfire ever when I was in Boy Scouts. And something they did wrong, I mean, they explain in the book and everything how to do it, and you start with your tinder, and then you add your kindling, and then you add the bigger pieces, and so on and so forth, and I could never do it. When I was in high school, I used to have bonfires at my buddy John's house, and his brother Joe would hang out with us. And I remember one specific occasion, it was like November or something, and it was cold out. It was like 30 degrees. And I showed up for a bonfire, but Joe hadn't gotten home from work. So I'm in his backyard and it's cold and I have to start a fire. And either I can go back and sit in my car or I can start this fire. And normally it's like, I mean, when John was around, we would dump some lighter fluid on it and just jump start it. But when Joe was around, he would just make a fire and get it going by itself without using lighter fuel. So anyway, I grabbed a few handfuls of leaves because they would rake their yard and put their leaves back by the fire pit. And I piled up all these leaves and I threw them all in the fire. And I threw some sticks on top. Like, I didn't think about any of this. I just threw it all on. I lit some of the leaves. They all lit on fire, and then the wood caught. And within 5 minutes of literally just throwing stuff in a pile, I had a roaring fire. And it was the first time I had ever really properly lit a fire without the assistance of another person or without lighter fuel or something. And it occurred to me at that point, in order for a stick to light on fire, you just need enough heat to ignite it. Everything requires a certain amount of heat. So like if I want to light this on fire, I have to provide enough heat to ignite it. If I want to light this on fire, I have to provide enough heat to ignite it. The difference is it takes a lot less heat to light this than it takes to light this. When I realized that, my entire perception of how to start a fire, how to build a fire, changed. Like, I'm not saying that should help you, but it helped me. And I realized that when I was building fires in Scouts, I was like making a pile of tinder and I would try to light it and it wouldn't work. And I'd say, why isn't it working? I don't get it. And the reason was the sticks I was lighting they were too big to be lit with a match. Like if you try to light this with a match, it's probably going to be hard. If you try to light this with a match, it's going to light. So if you get enough of this, put it in a pile, light it. As soon as that ignites, add some of this. As soon as that ignites, add some of this. You have a beautiful fire. And I just think it's interesting because as I was building this fire today, all of that stuff I went back to my memory and thought about that time when I built that fire with a pile of leaves. And I thought, hey, that's kind of interesting because the guy in this book was talking about that because the underlying form of wood and igniting it is how much heat is required to actually light that stuff. The romantic way of looking at that is you have wood, you make a pile, you light it. If you made the right size, if you made your pile right, using the right sizes of wood, it should light. And so for me, thinking of it from that more underlying perspective actually allowed me to do it. And it's actually the reason I can make a freaking campfire today. The Scout Handbook tells you how to make teepees and lean-tos and stuff. And every time I've ever lit a fire, I've just made a pile. I make a pile of sticks. And as long as your tiniest ones like this, the sticks that are able to be lit with a match are on the bottom and there's a sufficient number of them to make enough heat to light your next biggest stick, you can have a fire. It's really that simple, but like putting it in that perspective is what allowed me to learn how to build a fire, essentially. Anyway, rant over. Let's build some food. Switched up my cutting board because I thought this would look nice, but it's smaller. And actually I was thinking today, I don't know if you're supposed to put meat on wooden cutting boards. I don't know. I don't care, honestly. I'm not that concerned with it. So today, as you probably could have guessed, I have steak, but I also have some vegetables. I'm trying to figure out different ways to cook vegetables because they're always the same and I don't want to do the same vegetables every single time. So I'm just throwing different stuff together. The idea is to keep stuff simple. You know, I want this stuff to be simple and easy. Something like produce that I can actually just buy in a store. Theoretically just come out and camp with, because it's easy to buy canned food, but like actually cooking something interesting, it's fun. And trying to figure out ways to do it really simply without using a lot of ingredients. So today I have mushrooms, a shallot, and green beans, and then I have a steak. So Let's see how this stuff turns out. Never cooked green beans like this before, so. Well, let's say it's time for whiskey. What we have today is Elijah Craig. This is a bourbon that I am absolutely in love with. Had some of this last night, and I think this is maybe not only the best bourbon I've had, I think this is the best whiskey I've ever had. I mean, this is comparable, like in my opinion, the taste of this is comparable to like any expensive scotch that I have tried so far. It is just, it smells like honey. It just kind of tastes like, the flavor is almost like a mix of like honey and maple syrup. It's outstanding. I love it. And for 25 bucks, I don't really think you can go wrong. I think if I ever had a choice, I'd get this over Maker's Mark, like any day. It is super sweet, I think, for a whiskey. I mean, Maker's isn't nearly this sweet, so maybe if you're not really into sweet whiskeys, this might not be for you, but I mean, to me, if it tastes good, then it's good. And this tastes good. This entire area is filled with tiny flies. I don't know what they're after out here, but they're irritating. It's a much smaller steak than I've been buying. I've been buying beautiful ones because I'm gonna film it. So I want to buy a beautiful piece of meat, but today I was being cheap. And I got a ribeye 2-pack, and they're not nearly as pretty. I basically paid the same price for 2 as I normally would for 1. So that's why this probably doesn't look as awesome as my last ones. Well, it really cooled off after that big bastard started moving down towards the bottom of the horizon there. It's funny sometimes to like come out here and be in the sun and be annoyed by it and to think that that's a star. And it's just baking me with radiation. And that's what's actually causing me irritation. Gotta tell you, man, my homemade steak seasoning is really good. Mentioned it in one of my other videos, but like sometimes when I'm home alone and I cook steak, I like to make up my own seasonings. And this one I liked so much I wrote it down. First time I made it, I didn't write it down, and I actually had to figure out what I did. And to do that, I took the seasoning, the leftover stuff, and I put it down on a cutting board like this. And then I just moved each grain apart and figured out what each grain was. So I knew that I had like sea salt, I knew that I had black pepper, I knew that I had garlic. And I ended up just like literally dissecting it. And then all I really had to do is figure out what the proportions were. I don't know. Some people say you don't need to put seasoning on steak, you can just use salt and pepper, and they're not wrong, because you certainly can make a delicious steak using just salt and pepper. But I just like the taste of seasonings. So I make them and I put them on the steak. Let's cut into this and see how raw it is. I don't know, it looks pretty cooked to me. Steak, whiskey, and a sunset. I don't know if there's much more to life. You know, the fat on a ribeye is outstanding. All right, let's see how these beans and mushrooms turned out. Hopefully they're done. I don't even know how long these have been on. Hope the camera's getting how good that looks. Jesus. When I was a kid, I never thought I'd get this excited for vegetables, but geez. Oh my gosh. Ah, green beans are pretty stiff, but what do you expect? I don't think green beans can be cooked like this. Well, I'm gonna eat this. I'm not gonna do it on the microphone. So it's probably where I'm gonna end this video. Thanks for watching, appreciate it. Remember to like the video, and if you liked the video and you wanna see more of it, try to subscribe, because then you'll be able to see me on a list. It'll come up in your feed. It'll be easier for you to know when I post a video. And if you want to be one of the first ones to see the video when I post it, remember to click the bell icon at the bottom of the video. And if you are considering becoming a patron, I totally appreciate it. I'm really hoping that this boosts my ability to create more interesting and better content for you guys. I hope it allows me to do more things, more interesting things creatively, because this tent, bulletproof. I would recommend the Marmot Tungsten 2-person tent to anyone ever. This is the best tent I have ever owned. But I want to try all the other tents. And there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to, because we're doing this, and like every time I could be setting up some new cool thing. So I will be giving the products away. So become a patron, get access to stickers and t-shirts or whatever you want. And once we get to the point where I can start buying stuff, then I'll figure out the giveaway. So I appreciate each and every one of you, and Merry Christmas.